Hi, JJ here with The Art of Value. Another update on OpenAI's ChatGPT. There's some news out that it may be worth about $29 billion, or at least it's being valued at that in a new funding round. I'm going to respond to the All In podcasts. Those guys on there, that's Chamath Palihapitiya, Jason Calacanis, David Sachs, and David Freiberg, if you don't know that podcast. So I'm going to respond to a little bit of what they said about OpenAI in this valuation, which the news broke while they were actually recording, and the other news around OpenAI, which looks to be one of the most focused on companies of 2023 from Silicon Valley because of the explosion of popularity. We can call it consumer AI, so it's kind of leading the charge there, and 2023 looks to be a big year for AI.
ChatGPT, OpenAI, doing a tender offer at $29 billion with no revenue, losing $3 billion a day. Oh my Lord, who is buying at $29 billion?
It's Founders Fund, or reportedly, according to the Journal, it's Founders Fund and Thrive Capital. So Founders Fund does not generally do super overpriced deals.
Yeah. I would buy that.
That's a silly bet. Sure. I mean, come on.
I mean, dude, are you kidding me? That could be a $300 billion company. That's a 10x.
Right, but
You think it's a 10x from here? I would not.
Totally could be.
So Jason Calacanis there, JCal, pretty much thinking that the valuation of $29 billion is laughable, but David Sachs and David Freiberg both thinking that that's okay. The Founders Fund's involved and doesn't usually overpay. Of course, that's Peter Thiel's fund. Peter Thiel involved in that. I'll put that on screen. The people involved in Founders Fund and the companies that they're involved in. Let me just have a look. So what they've been involved before, in case you don't know: SpaceX, Palantir. Of course, Peter Thiel's heavily involved in Palantir, one of the founders. Stripe, Facebook. Peter Thiel was one of the first investors of Facebook. Of course, Airbnb, Affirm, and other companies there. You can have a look on the screen. So these are heavy hitters, and OpenAI being involved in OpenAI at a $29 billion valuation, and David Sachs and David Freiberg there saying that they would invest at that level, saying that it could be a 10x, a $300 billion company, going up against Google if it starts to eat into Google search. Look at the valuation of Google. Google might come out with something. Looks like they could, but then they go on to talk about that. So let's hear some more.
By the way, do you guys remember that the origin of OpenAI? I don't know what the current situation is, but it was a nonprofit where they said investors put money in, but the investors' maximum return was 100x on the dollar invested. So it's a nonprofit, but it's a profit up to 100x.
No, that happened afterwards. It's when they converted.
That was the original model.
Yeah. The original model was a pure.
Then they converted to a for-profit.
The original model was a pure nonprofit where there was no cap because there was no concept of equity.
Yeah.
When they flipped, they capped everybody to 100x on the return. So the original money,
100x, but not anymore, or still.
But the original money, which was like Elon's money, who else put in money?
Reid Hoffman.
All that money came in as pure nonprofit. So I don't know how it converted, but that's when they...
Or did it convert? Did those people who funded it originally get any shares in the for-profit?
We could find out. Probably they did. I mean, it would make sense that they would.
I don't know. We'll find out.
Okay, they're talking about how OpenAI started as a non-profit and then changed what it was going to do in the funding rounds. I looked up Crunchbase. Funding rounds have been 5 so far, up to $1 billion. And of course, I've done some videos previously about Microsoft getting involved. Microsoft investing heavily, $1 billion, thinking about investing more, and they're coming out with a Bing product, integrating it into Bing in the coming months. See the previous video if you want to know about that. Some of the investors that have been involved are Sequoia Capital, Andreessen Horowitz, Microsoft, of course, and Koshler Ventures, Reid Hoffman Foundation, and Y Combinator going way back. So, and Sam Altman's involved in that. And he's involved in OpenAI, the CEO. So some heavy hitters there and some funding rounds, and it's gone private. They talk about a 100x return being capped at that. I don't know if that's true, and I don't know if that will happen in the future. It seems like people are starting to think this could be a huge opportunity of Google proportions. So people want to get in on it and willing to invest at a $29 billion valuation already. If you're getting value out of this episode so far and you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button to help with the algorithm and to give me that little dopamine hit that we all crave so much. Thanks.
The thing that I want to impress upon you is like, there is an enormous amount of work that they do that what their biggest gap to monetizing this will be finding unique content that they learn on that nobody else has access to. And this is why I really think it's important to understand, if you have enough compute, all of these unsupervised learning models, if you run them on the same training set, will converge to the same answer. So you're just getting there first. So in order to be really defensible, you have to get there in a unique way. And so either you're going to hand tune or you're going to have inputs that are different. So yeah, I don't know the answer. That's why like they have to answer that question in their fundraising. And I'm sure that they did because these are smart investors. But that's the big idea that you have to overcome. And again, you have to think like, you think Google is sitting on their hands?
No. Or Google is sitting on a competitor they haven't launched.
Yeah, Jamal's starting to talk about the data that the AI is trained on, saying that different companies, say Google will have one that's being trained on the same data, unless they've got different data that they've been trained on. And it's a huge amount of data from the internet and digital books and that sort of thing, that they'll come up with the same result. So obviously saying that this could be a competitive situation where they all come up with the same result. So Google search has had such a monopoly. Again, previous videos I talked about, is this a Google killer? And they said there that Google could have a product ready to launch, and it would not surprise me if that happened very soon. And so is the differentiation, we're going to see that as different products are launched, I think, but OpenAI has definitely got the lead, first mover advantage, and it's already successful as consumer AI.
29 billion, like what fundamentals is that based on? Like, why not 5 billion? Why not 3 billion? I mean, like, why not 10 billion? Like, what makes it 29 billion?
They doubled their last valuation. That's what it is. This is all momentum. This had nothing to do with reality, right? I mean, this would imply at a 30, the public comps, like Google trades at what, 25 or 30 times EBITDA? So this would imply $1 billion in EBITDA. $1 billion in EBITDA, $3 million a day. They're losing $3 million a day on computer, reportedly. $3 million a day in profit on what product? I don't know. If they have
that's not the issue. I think, look, I mean, my point was if these guys open up a set of tools that support all these applications and services to emerge on top of what they've built, and they're getting rev share, getting payments out of that, it's going to very quickly turn into a real
Here's the problem.
So back to the valuation again. JCal thinks it's not worth around 29 billion. And what's that based on? They ask, what's it based on? It definitely is momentum. As I said, this has got a lot of momentum and a lot of hype around it already. It looks like 2023 is going to be the year of perhaps natural language models like this. Google might come out with something, wouldn't surprise me. Microsoft's getting heavily involved. But a bit more detail on that. They say, I found this article here, which I'll put on screen. It says, the VC firm's investment is expected to total 300 million or more in share sales, sources told the Journal, which is the Wall Street Journal. This is where this news broke. They noted that discussions remain ongoing and the deal's value is not finalized, so it could change. If it does go through, it would make OpenAI among the most valuable startups in the US, which is not surprising. And OpenAI was valued at 14 billion in 2021. So this is where the momentum comes in. Just in 2021, it was at 14. Now it's at 29, so it's double the tender offer, and more recently valued at 20 billion via a secondary sale. So just recently 20, it's gone up suddenly 9 billion sort of very quickly. The company projects to make 200 million in revenue in 2023 and $1 billion by 2024. Okay, as we all know from startups and companies with a lot of hype, they can project whatever they want in terms of revenue. But it was, I think, David Freiberg there was saying that they could come up with a set of tools to earn that money reasonably easily. And I could see that. They already do have a set of tools. If you look at OpenAI, they've already got products that people pay for. And so I could see that happening easily. Obviously, consumer AI, the ChatGPT, they kind of want for free. So it's really up to the venture capitalists to pay for that. There's a lot of talk about how over the last 10 years, we've had cheap rides through Uber and companies like that, and cheap deliveries because venture capitalists have been funding that in the hope to get to kind of blitz scale, let's say, Reid Hoffman again, blitz scaling, to get to the point where they can turn a profit, make money by having massive market share. So this could be the same, where they're really going for it, and they develop a set of tools that they can charge people for, subscription-based, advertising-based. It's like Google didn't come up with a business model for a while, so this could be just like that. What do you think? Is OpenAI worth $29 billion already, or is this just momentum and a bit of hype? Let me know in the YouTube comments if you're watching on YouTube, and I'm on Twitter at The Art of Value as well. And this article does talk about the revenue. They say it was founded in 2015. OpenAI has reportedly generated tens of millions of dollars in revenue. It currently charges developers who license its technology to generate text and images. ChatGPT has drawn in more than 1 million users, and it did that very quickly within 5 days, less than a week. I talked about that in a previous videos, that it's scaled that quickly, as fast as anything that I've ever seen, faster than Instagram, faster than Facebook did, faster than anything I've seen. So that's a very good sign for investors doing these private investments. According to OpenAI chief Sam Altman, while it's currently free in the research phase, Altman said the company will have to monetize in the AI service at a later date as the compute costs are eye-watering. Jacob mentioned it's losing $3 million a day, and that's where the venture capital money is going, obviously, and from Microsoft especially. And as I said in the previous video, Microsoft is helping with the infrastructure, the computing power. They've got Azure, so they can help out a lot. And that's in terms of their investment towards this big expense. It will get expensive unless they work out how to monetize, and I'm sure they're definitely thinking about it at the moment.
Here's the problem, Freeberg. This is why that can't happen. They don't have the rights to the data they built the training set on. And the second they commercialize it, the second anybody pays them, whoever they base this on, they're going to get sued into oblivion. I predict sued into oblivion.
Let's talk about that in the next show, because I think that's the way that AI works, and we should probably bring someone like Sam on to talk about it. But the way that AI works on training data, and now people are making claims that the training data is copyright, therefore the model output protects that copyright, is, I think, worthy of a good conversation.
Well, what's interesting is, the early version of the internet was very simple. It's like you had this file called robots.txt, and you would basically be open to a crawl or not. And that's what would allow Google to basically go and spider your pages.
Right.
And so we have to replace this concept of that with this.
AI.txt.
Well, you could make a claim that this is no different than, a spider crawling a web page. Except that in the search case, it was much cleaner, which is we're just going to index your page and redirect people to you. Here, we're actually going to create a derivative work because of you in part. And I do think that that's going to be a very interesting legal threshold that has to get figured out.
This is a good point, and I think we're going to hear a lot more about this in 2023, about copyright problems, issues that come up with AI. So the training set they're talking about, the training data is taken from the web, it's taken from digital books, all different sources. There's no permission given for that, and they're talking about using 100% of that to come up with new work. So if you ask a question, or the image AI is another situation with OpenAI, where it's coming up with images and it's using other images as material. I'm guessing that a lot of the legal arguments will be based on how much is it 100% use? Is it what percentage of use is there, especially in the images? But also ChatGPT, if you're asking to create things, whether it be emails or books or whatever, and it's using that data from somewhere else, depends how much of it's used. Is it making it exactly? What is the answer to this? I think we're going to hear a huge amount, and there are going to be legal issues from this, especially if they start making a lot of money from it without sorting this out, which is the Silicon Valley way, is just do things and apologize later if need be, or just go ahead, blast away and work out these things out later, because the technology moves a lot faster than the legal situation or any kind of regulation based on this, as we've seen with social networks and all kinds of things in the last decade. And this is a new decade, and technology is starting to race ahead. Okay, I'm going to put a link up here to some previous videos about OpenAI and ChatGPT that I've made already. Going to be making some more, so subscribe or follow in your favorite podcast app, or on YouTube, subscribe to get more like this in the future. And I'll see you again next time.